Harry is a young man who travels during the summer to help sort through the belongings of his late grandmother. However, in the village, he meets several girls who help him learn more about himself and face the messes from his past life. We see a little boat approaching the island of Tishiroima. He's almost there, and outside stands a boy watching the seagulls, saying that it makes him a wounded migratory bird. Then, out of nowhere, an old lady shows up and asks who the wounded migratory bird is. The guy, totally baffled, says it's him because his heart is broken. Well, alright then, our emotional guy. Right after that, he thinks it's super weird to be talking to an old lady about his feelings and turns around to keep admiring the scenery. There, he sees a strange glowing butterfly that vanishes into thin air, and he spots a stunning waifu down at the port. Once he arrives at the dock, the guy takes a look at the island and comments that even though he's never been there, he feels a deep sense of nostalgia. And once again, the old lady pops up to ask what he said this time. The guy is already tired of her reading his thoughts, and she tells him that if he doesn't like it, he should stop thinking so loudly. He asks her if she's ever felt nostalgic for a place she's never been to. She answers that she has, and that it's called déjà vu. It's pretty common. Then she walks off because she's already annoyed with him. He continues walking through the town, which is charming and rustic, until he finally arrives at the house. There, he meets Misaki, who's been taking care of the house ever since the grandmother passed away. He introduces himself as Harry and tells her he'll be at her service during his vacation. Misaki takes him to his room, but it turns out to be an old storage room. She apologizes for the bad smell and the mess. Harry tells her it's perfect, that it matches his emotional state because he's a wounded migratory bird. Misaki's like, "What's up with this weirdo?" She tells him there's another family member living there too, but they're out right now, and she'll introduce them later. Harry plops down on the floor and remembers a time when he received a letter from his grandma, Kyuko, inviting him to visit the island. But the old lady died a month later, and since the house was a complete mess from all her travels, someone had to come tidy things up. So they sent the only jobless guy who goes around saying deep stuff. Him. The dude falls asleep and has a wet dream, but like, literally wet. He was drowning in a pool. When he wakes up, it's already getting dark. He's hungry and goes to see if Misaki can make him something, but she only has instant noodles. Since the guy's a bit picky and doesn't want to eat that, Misaki lends him her scooter so he can find food on his own. So he heads to a small diner in town and orders a Happy Meal. The cook gets to work, and after a while, serves him chicken soup with an egg. Harry, confused, says he ordered a Happy Meal, like at McDonald's, and the chef answers, "The chicken and the egg died together. That's happiness." A philosopher. That man. After eating, Harry decides to take a stroll around the island and do a bit of sightseeing. After walking for a while, he ends up at an elementary school and realizes he's totally lost. Suddenly, he hears something fall into the water. He sees a pool and walks in like he owns the place. As he gets closer, he notices there's a girl underwater, holding her breath for as long as she can. When she finally comes up, Harry realizes it's the same waifu he saw when he first arrived on the island. She asks who he is, and he tells her his name and asks for hers. The girl says her name is Shiroha and that she's practicing swimming. You can tell she feels uncomfortable, and honestly, who wouldn't? Imagine being a cute girl, all alone, in a bikini, and some random dude shows up trying to start a conversation. Yeah. Awkward. Harry tells her he got lost and is trying to find his way back to the Katu house. Shiroha asks if he means the Sakahara house. He corrects her, saying it's the Takahara house, but Shiroha confidently insists it's Sakahara. Harry tells her to just give him directions already. He notices he's making her uncomfortable, so he decides to leave. But before he goes, Shiroha does give him the directions to get back. Harry thanks her and asks what the heck she's doing swimming at night. He tells her it's dangerous. What if some pervy guy showed up to spy on her and start asking weird questions? Shiroha yells out, "Dosukoi!" Harry has no idea what that even means, but it's clear the girl's had enough, so she runs off without looking back. When he gets back to the house, Harry finds Misaki, who's resigned herself to eating her instant noodles because the jerk took her scooter and didn't even offer to bring her anything from the restaurant. She asks how it went. Harry says the food was great and then asks her what the heck dosukoi means. Misaki tells him to quit messing around. Harry apologizes, and she explains that's exactly what it means. Quit messing around. After that, Since Harry is super sharp, he starts to suspect that maybe, just maybe, he was bothering that girl after all. The next day, he gets woken up by a purple-haired girl who introduces herself as Umei, the other relative living there. Harry introduces himself too, and Umei lets him know breakfast is ready. She made fried rice, which throws Harry off a bit. Apparently, that's not your typical breakfast food.
Umei tells him she cooked it, and if he doesn't want it, he can just eat poop instead. That makes Harry reconsider, so he sits down and starts eating the rice. Surprisingly, it's really good. Honestly, it even looks delicious. After breakfast, it's time to divide up household chores, because no one lives for free around here. They set up a whiteboard with the days of the week and write down tasks like taking out the trash, washing dishes, doing laundry, and cleaning the rooms and bathrooms. To decide who does what, they play rock, paper, scissors. Umei loses every time and accuses Harry of cheating, but he tells her she's just terrible at the game. According to Harry, Umei makes different faces depending on what she's about to throw, so he can always guess what's coming. So, Umei decides to make the opposite face of the move she plans to play to throw him off, but she says her whole plan out loud. Apparently, no one in that family knows how to think silently. They play again, and Umei loses. She tries again, still thinking out loud, so there's no chance. Frustrated, she makes one last attempt using a totally blank poker face. And finally, she starts winning. Feeling triumphant, Umei says goodbye and runs off to play outside. Harry asks Misaki what chore he's supposed to do, but she tells him to take a break and help out later. For now, she suggests he explore the island and maybe meet someone interesting. Wink wink. Harry takes her advice and ends up finding a girl asleep under a tree. The scene feels super chill, with the ocean breeze and the shade of the tree. Next to the girl, there's a strange creature that looks like a mix between a fox, a cat, and an alien. Harry tries to figure out what it is, but right then, the girl starts to wobble and falls straight onto the grass. Harry jumps in to play the hero and tries to catch her, but ends up grabbing her chest. She wakes up to find a random guy casually groping her. Annoyed, she snaps at him, saying if he's going to take advantage, he should at least do it with more flair, and pushes him off. After the misunderstanding, things settle down. Harry explains everything that's happened so far to catch her up, and asks her not to be so aggressive with him. Of course, he still takes offense that she's suspicious of him. She replies, "What do you expect? I wake up and you're on top of me, grabbing my chest." He tries to justify himself, but she just asks him, "If you ever see me sleeping again, please keep your hands off my chest." Not too much to ask. Suddenly, the girl realizes it's already 2 in the afternoon and says she's late for work. She takes off running, accompanied by her weird pet, the fox cat alien named Inari. Harry checks the time and confirms it's true. It is 2 o'clock, and wonders how she knew that, since she wasn't even wearing a watch. Then he heads to a small dock to deliver one of his classic existential monologues out loud. Like always, he reflects that spending the summer in a new place might help him forget his problems. But just then, a wave crashes hard into the bay and soaks him completely, head to toe. Since we gotta give the ladies some fan service, he takes off his shirt and hangs it to dry on a makeshift clothesline tied to his bike. As he walks back home, he runs into another guy, also shirtless, casually strolling down the road. Harry stops him and asks who he is, but the guy only replies that he shouldn't be dressed like that, though it seems like he meant, "You shouldn't be so underdressed." Suddenly, a stream of water whizzes past Harry's cheek. The shirtless guy goes on high alert. They're being shot at out of nowhere, like suspects in an American cop show. From a watchtower, a girl armed with a water gun yells down at them that it's forbidden to walk around naked outside of the designated bathing area, and that they better get dressed or face the consequences. Harry is completely lost, and the other guy explains that they're in the middle of a naked people hunt. Without giving them any more time, the girl fires again, and the guy tells Harry to run for his life. Harry doesn't even hesitate. He spins around and bolts at full speed, leaving the poor other guy behind, soaked and on the ground. Back at the house, Umei sees him without his shirt and throws a comment. "You're really getting used to island life, huh? Walking around half naked already." Then she tells him a package arrived for him. Harry opens the box and finds an envelope with photos. Looking at them, he sees a picture of himself with his swim team. Umei asks if he was in the swim club, but Harry answers that no, actually, he was in the men's swimsuit club. Umei suspects that sounds made up and goes to ask Misaki if such a club exists. Obviously, Misaki tells her no, but when she gets back, Harry's already gone. Umei goes out to find him and sees him at the pool, where Shiroha is training. When she spots him again, Shiroha tries to scare him off, telling him not to bother her. But Harry just gives her a tip on how to improve her form, and then runs off. What a weirdo.
We see Umei quietly eating her little bowl of rice all by herself, peaceful as can be, until suddenly, a man in a suit shows up without saying a single word and goes straight into her room. Later on, in the present, we see her eating with Harry. A big change. Looks like the girl is finally starting to let out all those bottled up traumas. That same day, Kyuko tells Harry not to worry about work and to just go explore the island. After all, it's not like he came with the goal of helping her or anything. So far, all he's done is eat, sleep, and ride around on his bike hunting waifus. And right during one of those rides to the bay, he runs into a mysterious waifu. They don't interact, but she's definitely gonna get the full spotlight later. The one he does talk to is Shiroha, who's there as usual, just kind of existing. Harry's already picked up on the fact that his presence makes her uncomfortable, so he decides to walk away. But to his surprise, Shiroha thanks him for the advice he gave her at the pool the day before. Apparently, it actually helped. After that, they go their separate ways. Harry heads to a shrine to ask the Virgin, or whoever's listening, for a little miracle. But then a group of kids shows up and recognizes him. They say their grandma told them he's the guy who thinks out loud, and wonder if he's about to drop some deep existential quote. Harry's not in the mood, so he shoos them away and keeps walking around the island until he reaches a lighthouse. From there, he hears someone singing. When he looks up, he sees a blonde girl humming a tune. He talks to her, and the girl replies with a mugyu. Harry has no clue what that means, but he goes with the flow and asks what she's doing up there. She explains she's on a personal quest, trying to find herself and understand her purpose. Pretty deep stuff, or at least she's trying. Harry, being himself, tells her that if she's planning on jumping, she should at least do it with some flair. The girl tells him she's not going to die, that she's actually invisible. Harry corrects her. You mean invincible? But nope, not that either. He figures she's just a bit messed up in the head and tells her she should probably get down before she actually gets hurt. Right then, a message blasts over the loudspeakers calling him to City Hall, like he's in high school and got summoned to the principal's office for messing around. When he gets there, he's greeted by the infamous Naked Hunter. She points her gun at him and tells him to stop calling her that. Her name is Mickey. She also shows off her weapon, which isn't just any random gun. It's called Hydro Gladiator 2, though from now on, we're calling it the Tehuacanator. Also, there is the naked dude from the other day. His name is Ryoichi. Both greet Harry and tell him they've got a sweet welcome party planned for him that night. Harry tries to weasel out of it, saying he's not planning on staying, that he only came to help his grandma, even though he's done jack since he arrived. But they explain that the island has a tradition of throwing a party for anyone who stays more than 3 days. So he's in. He accepts, not like he has anything better to do. And they mention that someone named Tenzin is still missing, up in the mountains. They ask Harry to go find him. Harry finds the guy in a warehouse doing sit-ups while hanging upside down like a bat. They end up playing a game of ping pong on some old table lying around. Harry scores 1 point, and Tenzin immediately takes it seriously, calls him a worthy opponent, and says now he'll go all out. Like Rock Lee, he takes off his wrist weights, ready to get wild. But right then Mickey shows up and tells them everyone's waiting. As they walk back, Tenzin asks Mickey who the guy he was playing with was. They all end up at the same restaurant from day one, because apparently there are no other options on the island. And there, they officially welcome Harry. Even though they said it was a party, it's really more of a small gathering of 5 people. The 3 who planned it are there, plus one more friend they introduced to Harry, Ao. Yep, the same girl who was groping herself under the tree. The others realize they already know each other and get curious. Since when have they met and under what circumstances? But both dodge the topic like pros. Then Harry flips the question and asks them who they are and what their deal is. Turns out they're in charge of the island's youth group, which sounds way too formal for something so empty. There are barely any young people on the island. While that's being said, Tenzin starts shaking a chicken leg like he's testing its aerodynamics or about to throw it like a shuriken. Harry asks about Shiroha and why she wasn't invited. Everyone's surprised he knows her and explains that she's not exactly sociable, more like shy. Ao, meanwhile, takes the chance to warn him not to do any of his nasty business with her. But it's too late. Harry's already made her uncomfortable, and Ao picks up on that fast, even if he pretends otherwise. In short, they did invite her, but the poor girl never showed up. The next morning, Umei heads out super early for her radio calisthenics, whatever the heck that is. Before leaving, she tells Harry she left him breakfast and just asks him to clean up after himself. I mean, if he's not gonna help with anything at Grandma's house, he could at least wash his damn dish. Harry, as usual, heads out to keep exploring the island, but the heat gets to him and he stops by a small shop. There, a super nice old lady offers him a shaved ice to cool off a bit. He buys it and sits outside on a bench to eat it, but the lady tells him not to be a dummy. It's hell out there. She invites him inside where there's a nice fan that'll make him feel way better. He listens, but then starts poking around like it's his house and ends up walking into a back room. And guess what? He walks in on a girl, changing. Surprise! It's Ao. Harry pretends to freak out and, in his panic, hurls the shaved ice straight at her butt. Naturally, Ao doesn't let that slide and demands an explanation for why the hell he was spying on her. Harry apologizes and swears it was all an accident. Of course, Ao doesn't buy it, because come on, who just barges into a room, unannounced, right when a girl's changing, and throws a shaved ice at her butt by accident? Yeah. No way. He tries to explain that the ice thing was a complete coincidence and that he goes to an all-boys school. Nothing but screws everywhere, so when he saw a bolt, his brain just short-circuited. According to him, he tried to cover her, but the only thing he had on hand was the shaved ice. And yeah, it landed right on her butt. Ao is obviously not falling for that story. Then Harry asks why the hell she's half naked in a store and if it's some weird fetish. Ao, already exhausted from this genius, explains she works there and was just changing into her uniform. Now poor Ao is left with soaked panties and syrup-covered cheeks. Harry, realizing his mistake, apologizes again and offers to let her get revenge by throwing a shaved ice on him. She gladly accepts, so they head outside and Ao dumps the whole thing on his head. But since Harry's a sore loser, he throws a snowball back at her. Thus begins the Great Shaved Ice War. Ao's not going down without a fight and launches more ice his way, and he fights back, all while the poor shopkeeper hears her products being tossed around like it's a food fight. After the battle, Harry's soaked and takes off his shirt to wring it out. Right at that moment, a shot from the Tewakanator comes out of nowhere, and Mickey's voice blares over the loudspeakers, ordering him to get dressed immediately. That woman really takes her mission of keeping the island nudity-free seriously. When he gets home, Harry takes a shower to be presentable for the evening, since he plans to head out again. He tells Kyuko, and she gives him the green light, tells him to go have fun. After all, he's got a sugar aunt supporting him, but she also warns him his free ride's about to end, and soon she's putting him to work. That's what he came for. Harry had completely forgotten he even had a mission on the island, but now he tries to act all deep and says he's actually on a journey of self-discovery, like that chick at the lighthouse. What a poser. Then he gets all contemplative and stands in front of the sea, trying to be philosophical. But surprise! Shiroha is already there. She's starting to seem more like a ghost than a person, only showing up when he's alone. She asks what he's doing, and he says nothing, just wandering. Like that's not literally all he's been doing since he got there. Then he tells her he saw her on the first day, when he got off the boat. Shiroha immediately gets defensive, cause that sounded kinda stalkery, but he clarifies that he saw her looking out at the sea and asks what she was watching. She, apparently with photographic memory, replies that she was looking at two birds on the water. So, yeah, not exactly thrilling, not sure what was more boring, the question or the answer. Then she asks why he came to the island. Harry says he doesn't even remember, doesn't want to admit the real reason behind his paid vacation. Then it clicks. Boom! He remembers. He came because life in the city was overwhelming, like time was slipping through his fingers. You know, the same thing everyone feels before taking a vacation, but he sells it like it's a full-on existential crisis. He then asks Shiroha what her favorite summer was. She says one from when she was a child, and that gives Harry the perfect excuse to drop another deep thought. He says life was easier when you were a kid, just running around, surrounded by friends and family, being the center of the world with no speeches or worries. That ever since he came to the island, it feels like those days are coming back, though really, it's just cause he does nothing and lives like a freeloader. Then Shiroha asks why he said that thing about broken wings, cause apparently Grandma's been spreading that around the island. Harry realizes maybe he's being too dramatic, and tells her it was just a metaphor, that he's been through stuff that's hurt him, and now he can't fly anymore. Shiroha looks at him, thinks for a second, and hits him with a, "You dramatic-ass loser."